welcome everybody to B-Movie Euphoria's review of The Children. Yeah, so somebody suggested on the YouTube page that I should review The Children, and I immediately jumped at it because I fucking love that movie. I've seen it at least 5 times. It's just good. There's so much to this movie, and even more now that I watched it again recently on Tubi TV, which is where it is. It's also, the whole movie is also on YouTube if you want to watch it on there as well without commercials. But I didn't mind Tubi at all, really, because the print that they have, I think it's probably the same print that Vinegar Syndrome has for their Blu-ray, and it looks fucking amazing. So how I've had The Children is on this collection here, which is the Grindhouse Experience, with selections from Quentin Tarantino's Presents Los Angeles Grindhouse Festival. So there's like 20 films on here, and one of them is The Children. But the thing about this collection is these are like the worst quality versions of these films ever. And like it or not, if you watch a movie and it's a bad, grainy, shitty copy of a movie, it's going to lessen your experience just a little bit. But it never really did for me as far as watching The Children, because The Children is just incredibly engaging. All right, so let's start off with the plot. The Children is all about a noxious, toxic, big yellow cloud that comes from a nuclear power plant on the edge of this town called Ravensback. So, at the beginning of the movie, it's these two guys that work at this nuclear power plant, and they're like, shouldn't we check on that reading over there? It seems a little strange today. And the other guy's like, no, we gotta go to the bar, we gotta get a beer, we gotta get drunk. Which, I agree with, but you should probably also take care of any sort of leakage or residue or whatever. You just need to take care of your shit before you take off. Anyway, they leave, and this giant cloud, yellow cloud, ominous yellow cloud, escapes from the nuclear power plant. So this cloud is just kind of floating along, and then we see this school bus. I was about to say full of kids, but literally there are 7 to 8 kids on this school bus. And what we find out later is that these are all the kids that live in Ravensback. All of them. 8 kids. So this is a small, small, small town. And throughout the movie, we meet basically everyone that lives in this town. And meeting all these people and seeing their different personalities and just all of the characters in this movie are engaging and interesting and weird. And it's just a wonderful experience. So, watching it again this time, I noticed a lot of similarities between this movie and Night Beast. So basically, this school bus with 8 kids in it drives into this nuclear cloud, and as soon as it does, all the kids that have been singing "Hail to the Bus Driver" or 99 Bottles of Beer on the Wall immediately stops. Dead silence. And then we go to this diner in town. So we meet our first 2 real characters right off the bat, which is the sheriff and then this woman that works at the diner, who I think we see maybe one more time in the movie, but she there's nothing to her character. Basically, she's trying to get the sheriff to go out with her.
When are you going to ask me out? I'm dying for a ride in that fabulous machine of yours.
Anytime, ma'am.
Listen, why don't you call me Sal or Sally or divorced with 2 kids, but Christ, drop this ma'am stuff.
Yes, ma'am. Sal.
Let me just say this. When this movie came out, a lot of people were giving it a lot of shit. They're like, it's terrible, the effects are bad, the acting's bad, all of this. No, I'm sorry, but all of the actors in this movie, even just this random dude that's lifting weights, all of the actors are very natural, very good, and very engaging. Like, I didn't see any bad acting, except from maybe one of the kids. Like, and, you know, that's a kid, so what can you do? But immediately the sheriff he's driving down the road and he sees this school bus kind of turned off to the side, and he goes and investigates, and no kids, no bus driver, nothing. And so he immediately goes to one of the parents of the children's house, and she's sitting there with this Doberman Pinscher that's realistically barking at the sheriff, and he's realistically freaked out by this dog. Like, don't fucking let this dog off and let him eat my throat.
Quiet, please.
Is Miss Button at home?
Why?
I'd like to speak to her.
She's not feeling very well.
Is Tommy come home from school yet?
And then she goes and talks to... This was a confusing bit for me, because I didn't know if she was the mother or the younger woman who's playing the piano was the mother, but she went and talked to her, and she's very, like, spacey, and she's like, And then the first mother, I'm going to call her, is like, it's okay, just take some of this codeine and you'll be fine. I was like, wow.
Don't worry. I want you to take a couple of codeine and rest. Is Tommy home? Soon.
The sheriff and the first mother go out and investigate, go to the school bus where he just came from, and they check it out again. They can't find anything again, which it's kind of weird because they don't really look around that much. Because right where the bus is parked, there's a cemetery right nearby, and they look around for like a second, and they don't find anything, and then the sheriff takes off, and the first mom stays there to look around. But the whole time, one of the kids, one of the children, is watching from behind a gravestone. And it's like, Sheriff, you really don't want to check out the graveyard that's right next to where the bus is stopped? Like, go fucking check it out! Where do you think the kids went? Like, they either went to the woods or they went to this fucking graveyard. But the sheriff, apart from being a pretty good sheriff, kind of, I mean, he's one of 2 cops in this whole town, so he's fine. He's not very good at investigating 8 children just going missing, because he's on the pursuit of these children, and he's constantly just making pit stops. He goes and has dinner at this woman's house because she's like, oh no, stay for dinner. And then he stays for dinner, and he's just taking a lot of fucking pit stops for someone that's investigating a lot of children going missing. On top of that, most of the parents that he goes to their house, the next parent, let's take that for an example. The next parent he goes to, she's got like a bodybuilder boyfriend, and she's sitting by the pool with her tits out, and she just does not give a shit. He's like, hey, your kid is missing, and, you know, the bus was just parked on the side of the road. And she's like, oh, it's fine. He'll come back. He'll be fine. Just no one in this town really cares all that much until we get to this couple. We saw the wife at the beginning of the movie. She passed the school bus full of kids and like waved like, hi. And then we see her drive into the cloud of yellow piss smoke. And so we know something's going to happen with that.
Is Jennifer with you?
No.
She was supposed to come directly home after school. I was going to work on her portrait this afternoon.
Honey, we don't know where any of the Ravensback kids are.
Anyway, so there's the wife and then the husband, and he was really good. They were both very good, and he's like the first person that the sheriff comes to, and he's like, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna fucking help you look for my child, because it's a child that's missing. Anyway, so they're on the pursuit now, and so the sheriff calls his deputy, his only other fucking cop in this town, which that actually sounds like a pretty nice town, to be honest. So he calls his deputy, and he also deputizes these two local rednecks.
Boys, I need a couple of deputies for a roadblock out by the interstate. You interested?
Maybe.
So the sheriff deputizes these two really sleazy rednecks, one of whom is actually one of the writers of this movie. And also one of the stars of Luther the Geek, which the producer and writer of this movie went on to make. The director of this movie really only went on to make one other movie, and it was about like astral projection, sex, and just like fucking when you're outside of your body. Basically, that's what his other movie was. None of the other actors really went on to something. I think one of the other rednecks went on to be in The Thing. I think. I'm pretty sure. But anyway, so he gets these two rednecks to go and sit at the edge of town, the one road leading into town, to make sure nobody gets out, nobody from outside of the city comes in, or outside of the town. And so they're sitting there for a while, and then the funniest character in the whole movie pulls up.
What's the problem?
Sorry, but I'm afraid I can't let anybody in.
Perhaps you could tell me what the problem is?
No, sir.
And every time he talks to the sheriff, he has to roll the window down and talk to him again, and then roll the window back up. So that's very funny. Apparently, this particular actor was also the coke dealer for the set. So he bought all the coke and, gave coke to, or sold coke to all the actors and writers and producers. It was a different time back then. But anyway, so these kids are now running amok in the town. They all have black fingernails, and their thing is they're just reaching out to their mothers and fathers.
Oh, my God!
Daddy.
And then as soon as one of their parents hugs them, they microwave their bodies by hugging them. And they turn into just completely burned and just microwave from the inside, looking just mushy chunks of what used to be a human being. And that was another critique by whoever critiqued this movie, and they're like, oh, the special effects look like shit. It looks like a pepperoni pizza. And it's like, yeah, but they're kind of effective. Like, it looks like once you finally start seeing the victims of these children, it's very disgusting, and it's what I would imagine being microwaved from the inside would look like. So I bought it. Anyway, so these kids are microwaving people left and right in this town. And every single time it happens, it freaked me out, and I was very disturbed by it. So in that sense, it was very effective. So the sheriff and husband guy are running around trying to, just tracing where these kids are. Well, they're just going to all the houses that the sheriff originally went to tell these parents that their kids are missing. And then they're just finding bodies everywhere. They're just finding microwave bodies everywhere. And Oh, we have another character, a woman that works at the local just everything shop, which has guns and food and liquor, whatever you could imagine. And she's really funny too. At one point, she's just worried about the kids, and at one point they all show up at her shop, and they're like, "Come out!" And the shots of these kids, it's always like underlit, so they've got that creepy like campfire look to them. And that's really cool too. There's one point where a kid is hugging a mother and it straight up looks into the camera, and that kind of took me out of the moment. But other than that, all the other vicious melting kills in this movie I thought were very good. And so basically we are just following the sheriff, catching up on all this, figuring out what's actually happening, even though there's no explanation about how this could ever come about. And there's no reason. And then this is the thing, the one point in this movie where I was like, that doesn't make any sense at all. At one point, they're listening to a radio broadcast, and it's talking about how they're like all the surrounding counties too. The children have gone missing, and so this is turning into like a whole state event. But I'm just thinking, how did that happen? Did the cloud go to another city or another town and then just infected those kids as well? Because like, how long does a cloud stay around? Like, I figured it just dissipated after that first, encounter with the kids, but apparently it's all over the state. And that's why the sheriff can't really get any help, because also all the phone lines are down, which was never explained either. So that's fine. But anyway, we end up back at the husband's house, and the wife is all distressed. She's pregnant, so she's upset anyway.
All right. Is one of you going to tell me what is going on around here?
So they're kind of just staying put, because they realize that these kids are walking around and killing people. So they're just like, all right, we gotta stay here. And the kids show up at the house, and the sheriff just starts like shooting them with a shotgun outside of the window. And the kids fall down, but then they immediately get back up again. So these are fucking zombified, radioactive zombie children. And so they're just getting back up, getting shot, falling back down. And so they find out through a lot of trial and error, and through the wife just knocking the sheriff over the head with a vase, because she's trying to protect the children. They find out through all this that if you chop their hands off, then they die and make the sound of a cat having sex. Which is also really effective. That noise is really creepy and gross and weird, so that was a lot of fun also. But basically, they have to chop hands off. They're chopping hands off left and right. And these kids are crafty, though. Like, it doesn't... all these things that don't make sense, like why they would want to go back to their parents, or why they want to microwave people in general, all that stuff is just kind of like, nah, don't worry about that stuff. It's fine. It's very effective, very creepy, and having seen it in a much better version of it, I have a much higher opinion of it now. I had like a very big opinion of it beforehand, because I would always tell people, oh my god, have you ever seen this movie where kids microwave their parents? It's fucking amazing. And it is. It's fun, it's scary, it's weird, and it's stupid a lot of the time. But it's very effective, and I would definitely recommend it. If you do want to watch it, you can check it out, like I said, on Tubi or on YouTube. And I should say you should. And that's Nick and my review of The Children. So thank you for whoever recommended me reviewing it, because I got to watch it again and I enjoyed the heck out of it. So have a good one, everybody, and wow.
She acts like she wants to die.